iPad letterers, it's so nice to see you. My name is Karen, I'm from iPad Lettering and I'm here to help you get the most out of your iPad, whether that is with lettering or art or planning and journaling. In today's video, we are going to do a plan with me for the month of November. We are going to use both the Procreate and Zinnia apps, which are my two favorite apps on the iPad. I know it's been a very long time since I've made a video, so while we're going to do the planning, I'm also going to talk a little bit about where I've been and why I haven't been able to make videos for you. The theme for this month's journal is going to be Thanksgiving, and you see how I'm currently painting a watercolor pumpkin in Procreate. I will be using this as my journal cover. And then later on in the video, I'm also going to use the Zinnia app and I'm going to show you the setup for my monthly and weekly spreads, as well as a new spread for a habit that I've started recently and you might find useful too. But now let's get started with our watercolor painting. I'm using the Procreate app here and I've started with sketching out the pumpkin shape first with the default Procreate HP pencil brush. And then on a new layer, I'm now painting in orange colors for my pumpkin. The brush I'm using here is my watercolor shape brush and it's part of that watercolor fruit painting set. You'll find links to all my brushes in the description of this video. You'll see that I've left some parts of the pumpkin white. This is to create the highlights at the top of the pumpkin, and now at the bottom of the pumpkin we are going to paint in the shadows with a darker orange color. The color palette I'm using here is also part of the brush set. If you forgot to leave some of the top part white, it's not a problem. Select the watercolor accents brush and paint in the highlights on top of the orange. The watercolor accents brush also works really well with that smudge tool. I'm using it here to blend all my colors together and create a bit more of a watercolor effect. You might have also noticed the watercolor background paper, and that is one of my pre-made watercolor templates. It really enhances the watercolor look that the brushes create. You can also create this yourself. And I've made another video where you can see the whole process and also all of the brushes in the watercolor fruit painting set. Alright, so now we're going to paint the stalk, and I recommend you paint this on a new layer just in case you make a mistake. Again, we are using the watercolor shape brush first, and then for the highlights and smudging, I recommend you use the watercolor accents brush. I'm switching between painting and smudging a few times, and I'll do that until I've got the look that I want. Definitely watch my fruit painting tutorial if you want to see the whole process in more detail. And then once you're happy with your pumpkin, it's time to bring it into Zinnia. The easiest way to do this is to use the copy and paste function, or of course you could also save the canvas to your photos first. But I think copy and paste works really well, so I'm turning off the background first and then choose the PNG export format and copy. Now we're going to open up the Zinnia app, and of course we are starting with a new journal first. So now what I'm doing here is actually not the most efficient way. You could have just created your whole cover page in Procreate, but this is what I'm doing most of the time. It's almost a bit of a habit to use Zinnia to create the cover page. I'm also adding one of my mini calendars below the pumpkin, and this is what the cover page ended up looking like. Now we're going to create the spreads, starting with the monthly overview page. I'm going to use my standard template that I've already saved in the app, so all I needed to do here is dragging it onto the page. And then I also wanted to create a custom header for this page, so I ended up going back to Procreate and write the word November. And exactly like we did with the pumpkin, I used the copy and paste function to transfer the header from Procreate to Zinnia. And then I started looking for some cute Thanksgiving stickers. The easiest way to do this is using the search function. There's so many cute stickers that I almost found it hard to choose. You'll see how I ended up selecting a lot of different ones. And then of course we need to write all the days here as well, and I didn't realize how unorganized I wrote them all until I edited the video. But it all turned out well, and I also created little background blobs for each day using the Thanksgiving color scheme. For the weekly spread, I did pretty much the same thing, but I also want to show you a super cool feature that Zinnia has now. and it is now possible to create links. I'm so excited about this. This is something I've been asking for a long time, and now it's possible to do this. So now we can link their weekly and their monthly spreads, and it's actually quite easy to do as well. But let's finish this page first. And then let's also create a page for the second week of the month by duplicating this one. So now on the duplicated page, all we have to do is change the week date, and now we are going to that monthly overview page and group all days of the second week and then create a link to this page. It's really easy. Once you've done that, you can then double tap on the group to navigate to the link page. You will need to do the same thing to navigate back to the monthly overview page, and I recommend you use the week date label for that. You might remember that I like listing 3 priorities for each week, and in the last few months they've pretty much been the same thing. Sleep at least 8 hours every night, walk 30 minutes each day, and work on my Savouring journal. I have been quite sick to the point where I could hardly get out of bed in the morning, and so this ritual has really helped me a lot. Sleep has pretty much become the #1 non-negotiable, and if I don't sleep enough, I don't even have to try anything that day, or I won't be able to function. This is also the reason why I had to stop a lot of my favorite things like making videos, because it requires a lot of energy and I just didn't have any. Or exercising. I also haven't been able to exercise much at all, which used to be one of the things I loved doing very much and really helped increasing my endorphins. So now sticking to a little 30-minute walk every day is actually quite hard. I'm also worried about losing all my conditioning, so there's this fine line between doing too much and not enough. But hopefully over time I will be able to increase this again. But it's not all bad. I've also learned some amazing things I don't think I would have learned if I wasn't sick. I found a course by Yale University called The Science of Wellbeing, and it made a huge difference. One of the exercises that was recommended was to do a Savouring journal, and it's a bit similar to a gratitude journal, but it really takes gratitude to the next level. Savouring is noticing and appreciating the good things in life, no matter how small they are. You want to press pause and take your time with an activity such as making a cup of tea or even having a shower. It's a combination of mindfulness and gratitude, and you can enhance the experience by logging these little events in your journal. The beauty of using Zinnia is that you can use a combination of photos and stickers and words, and by doing this you will evoke more pleasure in order to savor that moment to the fullest. Ideally you make this a daily practice, but in order to show you how one of these pages starts evolving, I pulled in some of my recent photos, and then I ended up adding the date for each photo and wrote a little description for why I chose it. And here is one of the pages of my September Savouring journal, where I've created a new entry every day, and this is what it ended up looking like. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to check out that fruit painting video as well. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.